Hey, what's up? Zach here, and today I've got my top 5 favorite clay tennis shoes for the French Open 2023. Here we go. And coming in at number 5 is the On Roger Pro Clay. Now, I personally like the On Roger Pro hardcourt shoe, but remember, it is an esoteric shoe. It is not for everybody. And the things that I didn't like about the hardcourt version of the shoe are all the reasons I love the clay shoe. Number 1, you get so much ground contact. It almost feels like your foot's feeling the individual dust particles of the clay. It's crazy just how low to the ground you feel on these shoes. But number 2, the treads on these are not as deep and monster truck as some of the other shoes we'll see on this list. But I think a lot of the times that's a good thing, and you can get some really good grip from that. Number 1, because especially here in the distal forefoot, it gets really wide. So when you're pivoting down low and you're trying to grab maybe a spot of the court where the clay is a little bit more sparse, it's gonna get these little razor edges into more of that harder clay, and that clay that isn't maybe as well moisturized. So you're getting kind of like easy movement, kind of more nimble movement on clay, much like you would think Federer would want, not something that's going to dig in like a monster truck like some people would like that really crazy grinding and churning like those treads would do, but something maybe a little bit more feathery, a little bit more nimble. And because the silhouette of the Roger Pro clays is just so wide in the forefoot, you get so much surface area, it does feel like you're on a hovercraft on top of the clay courts. And these make clay courts that are even really kind of almost overwatered, really heavily moistured clay that almost feels like it's dragging you down like quicksand, can even make those clay courts still feel very nimble, very light underfoot, and like you're not being sucked down to the ground. So if you want kind of the best clay shoe for easy, nimble movement, the Roger Pro is a tremendous pickup. And coming in at number 4 is another real surprise shoe that got on this list, and a shoe that surprised me a lot with its playability, and that was the Nike Vapor Pro 2 Clay. Now, the Vapor Pro 2 on a hard court, it can be a little more unforgiving, a little bit heavier. However, on a clay court, because the rubber isn't as bottom heavy on the shoe, it does give a lot more nimble movement on that clay. And once again, the tread pattern on these is a little different than traditional herringbone. Gives a lot of grip in a lot of different situations, whether it be dry clay, really over moisturized clay, sparse clay, or really kind of beefed up heavy clay underfoot. Still get a really nice grip profile on these. Also, because the medial side of the heel juts out so wide on these, you get really excellent grip from those really extreme sliding positions or compromised positions. You're still getting that nice push back to their side, and I think these are like kind of one of the best shoes for that next step push off from a really extreme slide, even if you are on more sparse or dry clay. The next thing I love is the textured mud guard here in the forefoot. I think it just gives maybe a little bit more grip to when you're really extreme toe dragging, as well as the reinforcing here on the lace line, because on clay, at least, and I said this in the review of them, and at least for me, I find myself in much more pronated or everted positions on my foot when I'm on clay versus on a hard court. Yeah, all this stuff is great for a really extreme hard court slider, but I think for the vast majority of people on clay, you're going to be able to use the tools of the shoe much better than on a hard court. And coming in at number 3, this is probably a surprise to absolutely nobody, but definitely the most secure and rugged shoe on this list, and that is the Diadora Blue Shield Tornio 2 Clay. That is a mouthful. However, what I love about the Tornios on clay is you get all the benefits of the super maximalist, rugged, containing shoe, wide flange, all that just razor sharp herringbone, and on these you get that super deep monster truck type pattern. Comes all the way up here on the medial side as well as into the toe box. You're also getting that jumbo outrigger heel counter here, as well as that shank on the external side. Just that gives so much performance, as well as them being just so maximalist. So I mean, if you're looking for the shoe that is just going to be the most rugged on a clay court, and one that's going to give you the most containment and just kind of feel like the biggest monster truck on your foot, it is definitely the Tornio 2 Clay. They're also some of the most forgiving shoes out there, even on a hard court. I mean, Blue Shield is so nice under your forefoot. So you're looking also for a shoe a little more like plush, comfortable shoe. These also probably are the most plush shoe on the market as well. So performance, ruggedness, as well as plush, those are like 3 oxymorons to each other, but all in all, it just absolutely unreal performance on clay as well as hard. All right, and coming in at number 2 is a shoe that I think surprised me even more than the Vapor Pro 2 did, just because not a lot of people talk about it, and even me, I didn't give it too much of the time of day when I got them in. I wasn't even going to wear them for this video. I was gonna save them for later, but I put them on once and I just didn't look back. My father also has been wearing them and he does not want to give them back to me. That is the Lotto Mirage 300. And unlike some shoes on this list, which either number 1 are really nimble on clay, have really great footwork, or some other shoes that are really protective, kind of give you great containment on clay, these give the best of both worlds. Number 1, they're unbelievably comfortable. One of the most comfortable tennis shoes I have ever put on, kind of up there with the Mizuno Wave and Force Tours, as well as some of the Blue Shields from Diadora. But number 2, they have a wide enough base where you can glide on the clay pretty well, get a lot of surface area contact, but they also dig in when you want them to. But I think one of the best things about the Mirage 300 is the uppers, because they are encased in a very thin layer of polyurethane, but it goes all the way around the shoe. They mold your foot really nicely, but also for clay, you're not going to get the durability issues because nice thin layer polyurethane gives you just enough abrasion resistance to be able to slide really easily, comfortably, but also the shoe isn't going to wear down after like 3-4 weeks. So if you're looking for the ultimate in comfort as well as nimble play, kind of honestly the all-around package, and just about the best clay shoe out there besides the number 1 shoe, it's the 300s, and they're amazing. And if you are one of the many tennis players dealing with aches and pains in the foot, ankles, legs, and have not been able to get a good straight answer of what to do, especially for our specific issues that we deal with on a tennis court, especially in this video on clay tennis, I am offering one-on-one consulting in the description below. I have a link to it down below there. It's a great space to get very specific answers to the often very complicated issues we deal with in this, obviously very complicated sport of tennis. So I'll leave that link in the description below. And coming in at number 1, no, I was not influenced by the colorway. I have way too much integrity for that, but it is the Asics Gel Resolution 9 clay. Now, yeah, obviously one of the biggest reasons the Gel Resolution 9 clay is so good is because of the super deep monster truck herringbone. Comes up so high here on the medial side, gives so much grip on any type of clay court. I think they'd probably grip ice. Please don't try that. But they're just so gripping on pretty much any type of clay you'd put them on. But I think even more importantly, it's the makeup of the midsole of the Gel Resolution 9. I think it gives it so much performance on clay. Now, number 1, the external heel counter that goes into the external kind of truss type shank combined with a dyno wall keeps the shoe so structurally sound, even when you are sliding in the most extreme positions or when your weight is all on one foot. The shoe is still keeping its structure and form so that you have a solid base to push off on from those really extreme positions on one side of the court or the other. And so when you're snapping from one side to the next, or trying to get grip and trying to get launch from maybe barren clay, dry clay, or clay that's over moisturized and you're just sinking into it, that shank, that dyno wall will kick in and give you just that little bit of an extra push. Now also, it's Asics Flight Foam. Now Flight Foam is great on a hard court, it's great on asphalt or concrete when you're running or playing tennis, but also on clay, it kind of maintains that stout edge to it that even, like I said, if the clay is really bogging you down or it's really slippery or barren, that Flight Foam gives you a very uniform, even, and lively footbed underneath your foot. So this shoe almost kind of creates its own little micro environment on clay, and I think that's why it does so well. And so for all those reasons, the Gel Resolution 9, definitely number 1. And honestly, it really wasn't that hard of a decision. And a huge thanks to my dad, Gene Mike, and my buddy Jim Kazora for helping me test these shoes for the better part of 4 or 5 hours at the tennis center. I had to get one more hit in on all of these shoes before I kind of made a final judgment. And it was really hard this year. There were so many good shoes that have come out, and a lot of them have come out in clay treads. So a huge thanks to you both for sticking with me through all that time, kind of rotating shoes throughout us and kind of getting all different opinions on these and kind of nailing down a top 5 list. And if you do want to take a deeper dive into the shoes that made this top 5 list, I will set up a special playlist up above, and make sure you subscribe down below. Respect your rubber and foam, and of course, clay. See you in the next one.